Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what's new with Copilot and some of the latest features and capabilities that you might want to incorporate in your business. My name's Jared. I am the Chief Automation Officer here at Raven Automation, and I've got Karl Bickmore, our CEO, joining us today. Before we get started, let's just do a couple little housekeeping items and tell you more about who Raven is. So Raven Automation is an organization built by operators. We're here to be your partner, not just another vendor. Before AI was this trendy thing that everybody needed in their business, we spent years building automations to solve our own problems in other businesses. Now we've combined that proven automation engineering with AI capabilities to help really supercharge your operations and drive your business forward. We know what repetitive operational pain looks like. We're here to help solve some of those challenges for you. We can help you eliminate manual tasks such as client intake, document processing, and general follow-up. We're using our AI-powered automation solutions. If you're ready to scale, you probably know the current reality. You're always hiring someone, you've got processes stuck in people's heads, and you have customer experience that really varies from one deal to another. We can come in and help you by building the automation and AI roadmap to help you scale without adding that additional headcount. If you don't already have the tools in your organization to leverage these things, we can even provide the tools. The big deal is your first win ships in as little as 30 days. Jump through our AI Jumpstart program. Through that, we'll help you build an AI roadmap tailored to your business needs. And again, get that first big win shipped in 30 days. A couple of reasons why you should consider using Raven. First, scale without adding payroll. We're operator-led, not just advisors. We actually practice what we preach. Your first automation goes live in 30 days. We give you a clear ROI-backed roadmap, develop solutions tailored to your own processes, and then provide ongoing maintenance and support for our solutions. We don't just build it and let it be. With that, let's talk about our agenda today. So we're going to cover a lot of things that Copilot is now capable of doing, and we're going to cover that through a few different mediums. Things that you can do with Copilot in Excel, some of the model choices that you have with Copilot, cool things that you could do with Copilot for your calendar or inbox management. We're going to show you how to use the Microsoft Word agent for Copilot, the agent from PowerPoint. We'll show you how to build a survey with Copilot. And then at the very end, we've got one more little secret demo that we'll share with you as well. If you don't have Copilot in your business already, let's talk about how you can do that. First, if you've got an IT provider managing your licensing for new M365 customers, you can get Microsoft Copilot licensing for anywhere from about $20 to $30 a month per user. If you're an existing Microsoft 365 customer, it's just an extra $18 a user right now. Let's jump into the demos. So Karl, I want to turn this back over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jared. Well, welcome everybody. By the way, we went over that pretty quickly, but the the $18 price tag is significantly less than it was, say, about a year ago, where it was pushing over 30 bucks. And so Microsoft has really adjusted their pricing into a competitive realm there, which is really nice to see. I think maybe the first thing, before I share and start the demo, because this is really a demo heavy webinar, we really want to just say, here's how it works, right? Before we do that, I just think it's just worth talking a little bit about positioning, because so many of us are trying to figure out which AI makes sense and how to approach the AI marketplace and how do you operationalize. And I would say a couple of things that we've really figured out, or that I think is the trending that we're noticing, that I think a lot of folks maybe are figuring out, is that there probably isn't a one size fits all, and that within your organization you might have some people using multiple different AI tools. And I think sometimes, and I got to admit, I've fallen into this category myself. I was very early Copilot adopter, And during some of the early stages, I felt like it wasn't as good at answering some of the things that other AI programs were using, or other AI providers. The reality is, it's like, just like any of us who have been in technology for a long time, you never really count the big guys out. Microsoft, I wouldn't count them out. And if you have Office 365 within your environment, it's really kind of like, what are you going to do with Copilot? And then what are you going to do on top of Copilot as well if you want something else? Because there's so many integrated functions and so many natural things that are built into it. It's a very compelling use case. And the other thing that I think is really pleasant, that maybe if you haven't checked out Copilot in a while and you are an early adopter like me and said, hey, yeah, it's great, but I'm getting better stuff elsewhere, that has really shifted. The quality of the user experience, the quality of the data output, the quality of the product, and the feature set is really excellent. And so it's, for me, who's actively using several AI models, Copilot has become a really terrific solution now, particularly when it comes to doing tasks within the Microsoft suite of programs. If I'm in Excel or PowerPoint or Outlook or Word, its integration compatibility is just, it's really not beaten by anybody. Others have add-ons, and I've got those as well, but the Microsoft product is excellent. And so I found that that's just a terrific thing to point out. So I'll go ahead and share, like, for me, I've been, I log into the web interface here. When you first come in, it says, hey, is this work or personal? That's because I have an account under the same email for either of them. Also, just for fun, just to point out, since we're in the Frontier program with Microsoft, which is sort of like a beta testing group, we also already have the co-work functionality, which we'll talk about in another webinar, because Microsoft within Copilot allows you to choose between using ChatGPT models here or the Claude models. And so for those that are like, oh, I really like Claude, or I really like ChatGPT, just know that those are the models available for you to use, and that's how you pick between them. Within different agents and different chats, you can choose this as well. But I have mine set to auto, which it thinks about how to do it. I generally, you can say quick response, think deeper as well. Those are good ways to go about it. But because we have the Claude Frontier things going, we also have the option of co-work here, which has some very cool automation things that we can do. So we're in that sort of beta testing phase with other people that are involved in the Frontier program with Microsoft. That being said, this is the main interface for Copilot, and it's pretty functional. It's like a typical chat interface like you'll see with any other. And so I think, Jared, one of our tasks was to show people how to switch between the models. That seemed like one of the good ones we should be covering here.
Yeah, absolutely. We can show it here through this, or we can show it directly working in Excel mode outside of agent mode.
Well, and that really brings me to the next part of the demo, which is something that I think has drastically improved in Copilot is the Excel agent. Or, well, let me put it this way. It's Copilot within Excel and an Excel agent that you can get to. So you'll notice in the web version here, there's an agents button, and you'll see some agents that we've created here, like executive team coach, but there's role execution playbook, but there's also an agent for the different products now. And if you haven't looked at the analyst or researcher agents, those produce very high-end document reports, things that you can really leverage, very well-cited, really terrific agents that Microsoft has created, and it's in everybody's Office 365. And they've also created these ones per. So there's an Excel agent, or there's using Copilot in Excel. And there's different times when you might use one or the other. But one thing I got to say, as a person who's been using Claude and other forms, one of the things that sometimes gets a little frustrating when I'm using Claude is I pretty much have to have a computer there running it to be able to do it. And when I'm working from the web interface and the data is in my OneDrive in my cloud, or whatever other cloud data source that I'm connected to, I don't have to have my computer's Excel occupied in order to do an Excel research task with the agent. Now, there are ways of getting around that with Claude as well, but that's like just the default thing is I'm not I'm not occupying my computer directly in the same way. I can get something into research and literally close everything down, come back and find that it's done when it's in the web interface. But anyway, let me switch over to Excel here. I've got some just quick examples of how we could use Claude in Excel, because this is a big area of improvement. I would say a year ago, or not Claude, but a Copilot in Excel. One of the big areas of improvement is in Excel, where you can meaningfully do some really terrific data analysis, data, cleanup. You can restructure it. And so I have some very simple ideas to share here. So let me go ahead and switch my screen sharing here a little bit. Let's see, here we go. I think this is it. We should be looking at, how often have we run into this where we have data, maybe we got it from a CSV or we've got it from some other format, and we've got first name, last name, city, and state all in one field. But to do something in Excel where we want to do some analysis, we might want to sort by state or by city or by name, first name, last name, so forth, so on. And that can be pretty frustrating because, that's something that can be kind of a tedious task. Or something I run into all the time is I either have everything in first and last name in one column and I want it in two columns, or I have it in two columns and I want it in one when I'm going to send an email or something like that. And so it's kind of fun because this is now pretty easy. You pop into Excel here, you'll see the Copilot here. You'll notice it has some default things it tries to just suggest, but hit this and you get yourself into the web. Now notice, and I think you were pointing this out before too, I can change which model I'm using right within the app here as well. It also gives you some good suggestions of things like, hey, what would you like to do? And if this is a more complicated spreadsheet, there might be more to think about. Now, let's all pray to the demo gods for a minute and hopefully I get everything correct here as I start throwing things in here. But I've got some prompts I already wrote to try to not make this tedious watching me typing this out. But basically I said, hey, sort this data into 4 separate columns, first name, last name, city, and state, and just hit go. And it's going to just take a minute to think through it here. And what you'll notice is that it's going to, and by the way, and I like how it does this, how it will tell you, what it's thinking about. And then you get your results, gives a little bit of the data here, gives me a done. And notice the undo. I like that as well. And here we go. It just very quickly broke things out in an order. That's just a really simple example, but it is just using natural language saying, hey, do this thing for me, right? And so it's pretty cool. I think that's a good starting example. I've got another one here. Let me get another file open here with some good solid fake data to share. Let me take a second here to find it here. Okay, here we go. All right, so sharing the screen again. Now this time I've got some fake data that's got some regions, some reps, some units, some price, and some dates next to it. And so I'm going to say, how am I going to use this? Let me go get my prompt. Make sure I get this right here. Okay. So let's say that I want to figure out, oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Still got the old prompt here. Let me copy it better here. Let's say I want to add a revenue column so I can do deeper analysis on this. And so I just tell it, hey, multiply this. To be honest, I could probably even say less, and AI would probably figure it out. But let's just roll with this. Add a revenue column, multiplies units by unit price for each roll, and then fill it down. And so we're going to let it just take a minute to start thinking here. You'll see that it doesn't take terribly long for it to analyze this. Now, as you can see, it's telling you what it's doing. Personally, I like the updating of what it's doing. Most AI programs do this pretty well. It's interesting to see how they have different styles, though, on how that works. Now you'll see that I've got a new column added called revenue. It's telling me how it built the formula. It's doing a little verification and just showing me how it works. So done, good to go, right? I think that's pretty exciting, pretty interesting. Another thing that I really like is sometimes when I'm working on a complex spreadsheet, there'll be a formula error somewhere or something that's not quite right. Like for instance, I'll take this one here, this Morgan firewall one, and I'll just change the formula to be H16 instead of the actual F16 data to use, and now it shows $0. Now, if I wasn't paying wasn't paying attention, didn't know what was going on, I might not notice that error. It's kind of fun that it does actually point that out in Excel that it's a little different than the rest, which is kind of nice. But you can also tell Copilot, go take a look at the spreadsheet and say, hey, make my data consistent, something like that, right? There are other ways you could do it. You can say, hey, find formulas with errors in it, or fix this broken formula for me. You don't have to give it a lot of additional context, and it will figure that out. Now, there may be other data that's inconsistent in this spreadsheet too. So let's see what it comes up with, because I didn't specify to fix that specific one. I just said, look for anything that's inconsistent. Okay, so it looked across all 250 roles. One thing, notice it standardized rep names into title case. So I probably had one that was not consistent. It also found that G16 shows 799, no blank, rep cells remain. And so what it was is one of these, and I think it might have been this West Casey, had lowercase c on it. And of course, the data where I messed up the formula has now been corrected. I don't know, Jared, I don't know about you, buddy, but I mean, how many times you've been driving around Excel, like bug hunting like that?
Well,
and taking forever.
I'll tell you, it's one of those things that for the Excel veterans out there that work with this heavily every day, sure, you can do these things with formulas yourself, but the point here is you don't have to know the formula. You don't have to know how to format the code or anything like that to get it right.
Yeah.
Copilot can jump in and do that. And I distinctly remember back in my career about 10 years ago, creating this really complicated tracker for technician performance at one of the MSPs. And I think I spent 6 hours building the formulas so that we could take standard deviations and averages and all of these things to rank people. I could have done that in minutes with Copilot.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key. I'm showing pretty simplistic things, and it's not hard to add a summing column, right? But
That's
the point
right.
is I'm using natural language. It's figuring out what I want. I can tell it to look for data problems. It finds it. I can tell it to correct it. I can tell it to show me and then correct it. You know, there's lots of approaches to this. But the reality is it's highly functional now. So here's a fun next level on this. So I've actually pinned these agents here. So this isn't like a link to the Excel on the screen I'm sharing. The Excel button on isn't a link to the Excel online program. That is a link to the Excel agent. And so you'll know it's an agent because when I come here, it says Excel, and now I can say what I want it to do. Now here's where I think this gets a lot more powerful. When you're driving around within Excel, that's a really powerful tool. But now, if you have the paid version of Copilot, because maybe that's worth taking a quick backup step. The free version of Copilot comes with everybody's account. You're on a Windows system, you get free chat agent, right? It's pretty terrific. You can do a lot of things with it. You can have it write things for you. You can author things. What it can't do is some of the stuff I'm about to show here, which is some of this agent stuff, some of this stuff of working with your data. That's where you pay the premium for to get some of this additional functionality to work within your data. So I can come in here and I can say, hey, I want to add maybe work content. It'll find files, people, whatever it may be. And so for a little bit of a macabre example here, there is a pretty large spreadsheet that's sitting in my system. That's the infant mortality research analysis. Now I could just go attach cloud files, and now I'm just driving through where I have files on my system. As I can hit my files. Now I'm looking at my OneDrive for myself. Here's my demo outline docs as an example. I can pop into this one, and now I can find this infant mortality spreadsheet, the same thing I just linked to before. The reason why it was there is because I practiced my demo before the webinar, so it was in my quick list, right? And then you could say, hey, take a look at this. You could even point out multiple files if you want and say, do some analysis between multiple files. And that's really powerful stuff that you can now do. You could even do it between, meeting transcripts and files. And you can have a look at PDF files, Excel files. There's all sorts of ways that you can use this. And so I'll show you an example of a prompt that I have for this demo. And that is, here we go. I'm a student doing research on paper on infant mortality, summarize this data, create tables and graphs highlighting the countries that made the greatest improvements for infant mortality. And it will be off and rolling. Now, for webinar purposes, I did run this already so that you wouldn't have to sit here and watch this crank. It doesn't take too long, but I don't know that we need to spend any time watching it crank. I'll show you how this worked earlier when I ran this to begin with. So I did that same spreadsheet, and here's the prompt, and here's it going through the process. It's telling me what it's doing, how it's exploring data. This is a fairly complicated spreadsheet on the back end, by the way, which is nice. It's data rich. That's one of the reasons why we pick it. And then essentially it finishes a comprehensive analysis, and then it starts telling me some of the summaries of the statistics. The countries analyzed was 102, the average mortality 41.3. In year 2000, what was it in 2018? 21.9. So there's been a big improvement, which is really nice. And then it goes through and gives you more of the different charts that it created. Now this is just in the output in the chat of the agent, but it also created a spreadsheet for me, which is what's being highlighted here. And so it took that spreadsheet and it started giving me the same summary information. Now I get a tab called Top Improvers, and you'll see Sierra Leone from 2000 to 2018, biggest improvement, 80.2. You also can see top 10 by percentage of improvement versus absolute improvement, 83%, 83.6, 83.5. And it's created all these graphs and charts that help me analyze the 2018, the 2000 rate, top country, greatest percentage of improvement. And there's more charts that they created for me. Now, I don't know, Jared, how long this would have taken you to do, but I don't care if you know how to do these formulas and how to build these tables, because, that's not always the hardest thing to do. Here's, by the way, is the raw data that it analyzed. It really did this in just a couple of minutes for me, and then provides me a spreadsheet that's just saved in my OneDrive that I can just go hit and open directly, or I can just preview it right here, or I can hit the open in Excel and I'm looking at it. So, Jared, what's your thoughts?
Well, to answer your question, for me personally, it would have taken me no time at all, because this is the kind of work that I would have absolutely delegated or otherwise outsourced, because I hate doing these kinds of things. Absolutely hate them with a passion.
There you go. Yeah. I have some other examples of some good data here that'll be fun for us to do. So let me pop over into another one. Let's see. Let's do the candy analysis one here. Let me open up that spreadsheet. This is the raw data. Okay. I have to move around my screens here a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna swap to this candy data. All right, now my prompt here is, I'm a sales manager. I'm trying to understand our sales by region performance, analyze this data, add one tab that shows top sales by product, add a third tab which analyzes geographic region. So here I am with the raw data, one tab in this spreadsheet, and I'll go ahead and drop in that prompt. Let it take a look at it. You're going to see it rolling through, and we'll see how the analysis pops up here. This one doesn't take terribly long, so I think it'd be fun to show a little bit.
Also, we've lost your screen share there.
Oh, thank you. Let me, pardon me. Let's see, here we go. Here we go. So here it is. It works even better when I show it. Okay, so you can see that here's the raw data. We're looking at the one tab. Here's the prompt that I gave it as we're talking about it. It's currently going through exploring the content. and we'll see how long it takes. And again, this stuff in general moves a lot faster than it used to, which is really nice. Some other demos that we have coming up here in a minute, I just want to show, because another area that I found to be, okay a year and a half ago is something that's, I think, improved dramatically in recent months with Copilot, is their PowerPoint automation. And so I remember a year and a half ago, I was exploring other alternatives, using other AIs, trying different PowerPoint type replacements. But I got to say that I am really happy with the two different ways you can engage PowerPoint as well. And so just that's another one that's coming up that I plan on sharing as we're going. Now, Jared, I know you've got some demos too, so you have to remind me of when I need to pass the ball back to you. But I think this will be the last one for a minute, and then we'll head to what you're working on.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll also say, after we toss this up, I've got another little slide I want to show up on the screen to talk about some of the differences in using Copilot in Excel, or what we would call Excel mode, and then using the Copilot agent for Excel. Because those are two very different things, as you've shown, but I want to make sure that we give our viewers here kind of a comparison of what you can do with each.
You bet. Well, yeah, that is a key thing to understand, is when are you using the agent versus inside the product. Both have really strong use cases. We're getting our data back here with our analysis. It was almost 11,000 lines of data that it cranked through at that quickly, and it's telling me a little bit about what it did, the key formulas here, and it's telling you key findings in the summary here. Chocolate was our biggest seller, so forth, so on. So now that that's done, I can go through and look through and say, okay, our biggest sales was chocolate, the gross profit was X, the units, the cost, profit margin 67 points. So it was not only our biggest revenue generator, but also our best margin, which is nice. Then it created a graph for that. Then I also got my region analysis here, where I can say Pacific, Atlanta, Interior, and Gulf, and then states or province, and how that relates. So to me, that's the kind of stuff that would have easily taken me an hour. Maybe I'm slow at Excel, but it feels like it to sit there and think, okay, what's the next thing I want to do? And then you can say, if you want changes, you can come back in and say, well, hey, what about analysis for this? Or can you do a deeper dive in this particular area? Just using standard language. As we know, AI has the ability to interpret and understand and give that to you. So I think that's some pretty great examples of all the ways that Excel has improved dramatically in Copilot, that I just think it's worth everybody understanding how that's flexible and easy. And it's good to point out, this is pulling off of data that was just sitting in my SharePoint and my OneDrive, so it was easy to get to. I didn't have to think about it. But really, it doesn't have to be there. If you have it in Excel and it's open, you can hit the Copilot button and you're off to the races. When you're doing the agent stuff, generally you're going to want stuff reachable in a data format. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the ball back to you, Jared, and let's see what you got for us.
Yeah, for sure. So let's pull this back up here. Give me just a second. There we go. Okay. So just a quick side-by-side comparison. Copilot in Excel versus the Copilot agent for Excel. Primary use cases from a scope perspective. Using Copilot in Excel, great for doing work on a single workbook, perhaps. The Copilot agent, great for processing multiple files at once or libraries of data. From an interaction perspective, the Copilot in Excel functionality, that's really more of a conversational piece. You're talking back and forth. I will say sometimes, I know this is a lot more when using Copilot in Word, is sometimes rather than the agent actually doing the thing you want it to do on your Word document or your Excel spreadsheet, it tells you what it would do, right? So sometimes you have to be a little more explicit with how that works. Using the agent version, these are more task-driven, role-based kinds of functions. So you can absolutely give it a true purpose to do what you need to do. From a persistence perspective, using the Copilot inside of the apps themselves, anything that you do is really just persistent for that session only. If you close the file and reopen it, that conversational history is gone, essentially. If you're using the Copilot agent for Excel, then you've got that longer lasting persistence over time, which is really great if you're trying to track changes or track what you're doing in a file. The other keyword here.
A key thing,
ahead, Karl.
for those of you that are maybe more used to other AI systems, it's a lot like what you'll find elsewhere in that sense, in that you can go to that agent for Excel and you can see your past chats and it remembers them and you can revisit them and go back to them and pick up where you left off, or revisit and add new information and create a new. It's very much like you see in other AI systems. That's what it means by persistent over time, right? Rather than just this one time I've got this file open, I'm doing stuff to it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to automation, something a little near and dear to my heart. If you really want automation capabilities with what you're doing, Copilot agent for Excel is going to be your best bet. When we start talking about security and governance, in the end, your governance and security aspects, when you're using the Copilot agent, you can define explicit rules and set up guardrails for what you're doing. Anything that you're doing using Copilot inside of the apps is essentially just going to happen directly there inside of the app with whatever file you're working on. As far as use cases are concerned, using Copilot in Excel, great for learning, great for one-off things that you might need to do to a particular file you're working on, great for some simple analysis. But if you want to do more larger scale operations, complex reporting, that's really where the Copilot agent is going to come into play. Now, Karl, you have anything you want to add there before I jump into our next demos?
When you're talking about that, one of the things I think is a big advantage to Copilot, if you know, and this has been the case all along, so maybe people are familiar with that, they're just looking for what's new. But it's good to remember that Copilot follows the security of the settings of your Office 365 within your Microsoft Graph, or which is your Microsoft data set, right? And so if your security is well tuned and has the right groups and permission levels and whatnot, you don't have to do anything for Copilot to be the same level of secure, which is actually pretty great because your users don't even really have a choice in that. But one question I've actually got a lot, actually recently, is because people are noticing, oh, I've got free Copilot. In fact, we had a customer that was kind of confused by that. Like, well, we didn't pay for licenses, but this person says they're using Copilot. It's like, yeah, everybody's got the free version. And so then their first question is, oh, do I need to be concerned about using the free version? Is it protected? And the answer is, if they're logging in with their Office 365 account to the free version, they're not licensed, paying different, they can benefit from Copilot chat and they benefit from the same security. I think that's a really important thing to think about, because maybe everybody in your organization uses Copilot chat, but only some people have the licensed version who actually do the analysis or the automation, while others just use it as a helpful assistant in authoring an email or improving an Excel file or creating a PowerPoint deck, right? The real power comes with the agentic mode, and some of the best stuff, of course, is the paid, and that's to be expected. And Microsoft pricing is very competitive these days, right? And so I think that's just worth pointing out, because I think there's this new idea of strategy where you could have some people using the free version. And Microsoft has this new thing where there's a little shield where it'll kind of, and if you highlight, it'll say this data is protected. It's kind of nice. They're trying to explicitly let people know, hey, just so you know, because your data doesn't go and train and go into the greater pool where somebody could query it, and you've exposed your client's secrets if you're doing a sensitive spreadsheet or something like that. And so I think it's just worth pointing that out while we're here talking about that Copilot piece. And you mentioned about the security function. So.
Yeah, for sure. So let's jump into some next demos. Now, I did cheat a little bit and kind of preloaded these just because live demos can be a little unpredictable. But the first thing we're going to show is some simple usage of Copilot inside of Outlook. And y'all forgive me for my unread mail count. I promise I'll get caught up with the spam. In this particular case, I just gave Copilot a quick little prompt here. Find all of my Intuit receipts. So here we can go see Copilot goes through my mailbox, grabs every one of these messages with those particular receipts for QuickBooks. I could take that a step further and query other things, but I want to go to probably one of the more helpful features here. Finding time for people to meet. So,
Don't pick my calendar.
well, we're going to look at your calendar, Karl. We're also going to look at Sean's calendar.
Oh boy.
So, there was always a challenge going back and finding time where people could get together. We could do that in a simple prompt here. We'll send that message, find the next time that the three of us are available in August, and we'll see what Copilot says.
It'll be August 27th.
Well, we actually do have a 30-minute spot tomorrow. That's why I told him to go to August.
Oh, see, there we go.
So there we go. The next available spot would be 3:30 to 4 p.m. Eastern time on August. And we could go through, we could click right here, and we could absolutely send an invite to book that meeting right here. Now, I'm not going to add one more meeting on our calendar because I know we don't need that right now. But this is a great way that you can cut through some of the time it takes to bring people together.
I think this is another great place. Like Microsoft for years has had the scheduling assistant, and it's helpful, and you can do similar work, but that is way quicker, way more efficient, right?
Absolutely.
And it's gonna title the meeting for you. It's going to send the invite. You don't have to start anywhere. Just describe what you want in a quick sentence, and here you are, right? It's so much more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into Word. Now, again, preloaded a few things here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Word create an email template for our sales team. So in this case, I have it referencing our AI Jumpstart program from our website.
We'll now just have kind of a word agent here rather
that's
than
right. We're using the word agent. So we're going to have it stay summarized and brief. We want to keep it limited only to the website source information. So I'll run that, and we're going to see that it does what it does. And I have here in Word exactly what it created. Now, the cool part is when it creates this file, it's already in my OneDrive. So it's there. I can access it. I can share it. It has placeholders for the salesperson. We have some general usage tips that it created for us. So from that, we can get some simple sales copy very, very quickly. We'll see over here, it's still working on it. It'll take a few minutes, but nonetheless, we get the output that we need. Now, let's take Word using Copilot inside of Word. So we've got this statement of work here for a particular project that we're working on. In this case, we're going to use Power Automate as one of the tools for that, but we've had a design change from one of our developers. And rather than go through the document itself, we've got a prompt that I've preloaded here. I want you to edit this document, and we're going to switch from Power Automate to using the Roost RPA platform. So I'm going to send that prompt. We'll give this just a moment. And what we'll see here in just a second is the content get rewritten. So awesome. We can see it's automatically changed the project overview. It's changed the scope for what's in scope here. It's changed our technical architecture. Still looks like it's writing some data as we go along. It's basically updated every aspect of this statement of work without me having to go back and manually find all of those references and change that. So this is another great use case example for how you could how you could go through and update a document in real time on a single document scale. And of course, we have additional options that are made available to us here as well. The one thing that's missing from this is there's no undo button here like you saw in Excel. So it would certainly be nice to be able to reverse those changes if I don't like them, but I still see that as a limitation that's here. Now, you'll see it's positioned down here in this case because we have multiple edits that are made. I could go through and change to specific edits and undo in that case.
I think one of the key things to point out is, you can use different versions of AI to do similar things. But the setup required, like when you think, hey, I want to enable this across my entire team, you didn't have to spend any time telling it how to do that, what your standards are, how you would go about it. It knows from your data, and it's pretty much just there because it's Office 365 and the data is stored where it can see it. So you don't have to spend anything setting up a infrastructure for the data analysis side, you just point it to your graph in Microsoft Office 365. And it's a huge, when I talk about like the benefit of automatic integration, it's very powerful, not to mention, just the tight integration inside the product itself, right? Nobody knows Word better than Microsoft, right? And so it's fun because I have generated a fair amount of like, different documents using other AIs, and they actually are pretty good. But I will find from time to time that like the way that Claude like created that Word document suddenly doesn't actually render correctly because the scripting they used to create it just got off. And you just don't find that when you're working within the Microsoft tool. It's far more reliable when it comes to the Microsoft product suite, in my experience.
Yeah, and from a security side, we use a paid Claude subscription. We use Claude Code. We use various Claude tools pretty heavily. I use it for writing a lot of documentation. But when it comes to security, Copilot's already inside of your Azure tenant. It's already there with access to your data, and you're not giving that to another provider such as Claude or ChatGPT in this perspective. Yeah, it does have the ability to use certain models by Anthropic or OpenAI, but it uses them in a different way with governance more or less baked into what your Azure tenant allows.
Well, yeah, and here's the key thing: you can do that with ChatGPT. You can do that with Claude. You can do that with Gemini, particularly in Workspace. It's easier. You can do this. It's just there's a little more work involved, and you have to be more deliberate on how to set it up for scale. The Microsoft scale piece is already built in because you're already using Office 365. It's the really just home court advantage they have. I feel frankly, I think Gemini in Workspace and Copilot and Office 365, compelling use case. I think you always start there and then say, what other AI do I want for whatever thing? If there is another one that I want for a particular, but Copilot is the one I'd have everybody using at some level, even if it's the free version, if I'm not going to pay for subscriptions for my entire team or whatever. But if the budget's there's a compelling use case around the data infrastructure. You don't have to think about how you're setting up your data stores and provide extra resources. So I think in some levels, like, the solopreneur out there doing their work, maybe this isn't as impactful for, but if you're an office of 20, 40, 100 people, 200,000 people, and you need to think, how do I get AI flowing securely and across this entire organization? It is so much easier because the infrastructure is already there,
Absolutely. Now, Karl, I know you've got some PowerPoint demos set up, but I kind of forgot to go back and see if my PowerPoint demo here ever finished.
Well, I got mine queued up. I can do it.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to pass it back to you and let you run with it.
Okay. Well, here's so if anybody's paying attention, they might notice a theme about our home offices. That's where I am today. Technically, I'm actually dropping out of a little time off with the family to jump in on the webinar. We love doing these webinars. I'm excited to do it. And so I thought it'd be fun to do it for now you and I have similar themes to our home offices. And so I thought when I was picking a data research, it'd be fun to do music things. Anybody that knows me knows that I like to work on guitar pedals and I like to do electrical things, with guitar. And so I thought it'd be fun to do a research project there. So let me pop into my Copilot share.
Let's be real. I think everybody that knows both of us knows the music that comes out of your office is just a bit better than what comes out.
Oh, come on now. Well, it is definitely my favorite hobby, and I love playing with my band and all that kind of stuff. It's been great. But only reason why I really pick it is because what subject do you pick for a demo that would be a great way to show this? And so what I did was I started a chat earlier, and I did this because it probably took 5 minutes to create this, and we don't want to make people sit here and watch for 5 minutes or sit here and vamp for 5 minutes. Okay, so here we go. Here's the prompt. I'll also close this side bit down. I said, do market research on major guitar pedal brands and recommendations for an 80s rock guitar player for a pedal board. So basically, I'm using PowerPoint in agent mode here. Again, more powerful than when you're in PowerPoint itself. But PowerPoint has improved its internal creation of slide decks as well. And so it was doing a pretty good job a year and a half ago. It does a phenomenal job now. The layouts are more consistent. You used to get things where sometimes the graphic would just be way off from the subject matter, and you'd have to go, hey, change this. And the old PowerPoint agent, or the old PowerPoint Copilot functionality, you could do one shot, build a whole deck, but you couldn't have AI edit just one slide or one section of the slide. Say, oh, I'd rather this paragraph be put into bullet points. That's now easily edited within Copilot, will interact within the slide deck now. It didn't used to be that way. And so it's easy to customize, right? Now, think of this in a business context. You can say, go look at these meetings and these documents and this PDF and create me a summary PowerPoint deck, or create me a presentation to this company. I'm about to do a sales deck for them. Create me a proposal deck and do some deep research. That is where the agent piece really shines, is you can say, give me a research topic. So I've picked major guitar pedal brands and told it to make me recommendations. And so it's just, first of all, good thing to point out, said, hey, I'd happy to help you do this. It's perfect. It said, it gives me some ideas of how it wants to go about it. It asked me to approve this plan. I could have said, no, change it in this way, but I said, no, this looks great. Major guitar pedal brands, essential pedals, 80s rock, recommended pedal board setups, brand comparisons, pedal board layout suggestions, right? So I said yes. And then it said, just to make sure, please choose some options. And so when I was choosing those options, it was asking me things like, who is this for? And I said, band members. What do we want to, the tone is important. I said, combination of both. And then selecting a length. I think I actually said 8 to 10 slides. And then it says what themes, and I could have picked more, and then hit let's go, right? And so it went through all of its thought process. I can go back here and you can see all the reasoning it went through as it's going through, doing the research, and then ultimately it created 11 slides for me, so forth, so on. And then I get the actual slide deck itself, right? And so what's fun about this is not only is this, done the research and it's going to create an informative slide for me, it also generated all the graphics as well, which is why it took about 5 minutes. These are not like stock graphics these are AI generated custom to the deck, which is way better than it used to be. So it gave me, and also notice it's giving me citations here along the way. It gave me really good information about it. Tell me what's great about the Boss pedal brand. Tell me what's great about the Ibanez Tube Screamer, average pricing. These are actually accurate, by the way. MXR for some module, the Phase 90, the Phaser, Distortion Plus, the Proco Rat. These are absolutely accurate for what I asked for an 80s rock board. Talked about the Big Muff. So anybody who knows anything about pedals, you're going to be like, yep, that's right. And then it went on to talk about the foundation, the pedal board build, the recommendation, gives me 3 budget choices, which is really cool to give me different ways that I could go about it. Some layout tips, which were totally accurate when I looked through it. Then here's all my references of where it found this. These are the web articles it read for it. So that was just a quick, minor, fun version because we were music nerds, guitar nerds. 100% accurate, and the design layout's sharp. But I can go in and just edit individual pieces if I want. I can go in and change things to bullet lists. I can make things longer. I can make things shorter. I can be more explicit. I can break out new slides. There's all this editing on the fly that used to not be functionally there. So that's just a really quick version of the PowerPoint agent where I gave it a research topic that it went and collected and put into a presentation. You could do the same thing with a Word document, but of course, PowerPoint's more graphical, right? So that was what I thought would be fun to show a little bit. And I said the whole thing took about 5 minutes for it to generate that with all the AI generated images and then the data collection and reasoning. So
Awesome. So let's jump back for a second and talk about surveys. So I'll share my screen again here. While that's happening, Microsoft used to have a separate section as far as an agent for surveys. They've now actually moved all of that directly into Microsoft Forms. So what we can see here is just kind of as an example. If I go to more agents, we can click surveys. And of course, it's going to tell us now everything that we do in surveys is now in Forms. So we'll jump back over to forms that I have open here. Empty form. I've got a simple prompt. I'd like to create an anonymous employee satisfaction survey designed to get feedback from our team on how to make Raven a better place to work. I think something that probably resonates with all of us, right? We all want to have the best work experience
just one
possible.
question will say nothing, so yeah.
So we'll run that. It's creating a draft. In just a second, it's going to spit out some questions. Looks like it's still going. So how satisfied are you working here? How likely are you to recommend us as a place to work? It's going faster than I can read here. Please, it's got a Likert response here, agree, disagree, etc. for how much you agree with various statements. What do you enjoy most? What changes or improvements would you suggest? And it's a fairly basic 5-question survey. If we don't like it, we could tell it to regenerate if we don't necessarily like the questions that were there. And it'll essentially do another form or flavor of that. We could fully edit everything. But in just that quickly, we could have an anonymous survey generated, come over to collect responses. We could send that out to our team directly through a distribution list. We could share a URL. I would always tell you to shorten that URL, of course, and copy the link and send it that way. But yeah, I mean, you have all of these capabilities that are available in Copilot now that work so much better than they did just a year ago.
Yeah, so why have a SurveyMonkey account you pay for? This is just included with your Office 365 if you got that. This is pretty dang functional, pretty easy to create, and you can use things like an NPS survey, and it will do that for you. You can use common terms, and it's AI. It'll know what you mean. It's pretty great.
So let's move on to our secret bonus demo.
Whoa, secret.
So you'll notice we've got Microsoft Teams open right now. And in this particular circumstance, this is a Copilot agent that has been built that leverages some other Microsoft tools to give us feedback on meetings. Now, I have a meeting that I wasn't able to attend. So let's throw this in here.
Do we have any action items from a meeting you didn't attend? How fun. Get to-dos from meetings you didn't go to.
Now, the important part here is I didn't attend this meeting. I wasn't on the calendar invite ever. Oh, and we got
demo gods. We didn't pray to them enough.
That's right. So let's just copy that and try that again. Okay. And every single one of these is failing to send.
Like I said, we should have prayed to the demo gods here a little more.
Yeah, the funny thing is I did actually test this right before the webinar and it worked. Well, so I went back and deleted the chat so I could rerun it live.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. This is the thing about doing demos, right? It's like some stupid thing. Look, this is something that we actually use all the time. It's pretty great. For whatever reason, I'm sure we can sort it out. But here we are live in a webinar. It's probably worth at least just saying, hey, what is it going to do? People could probably even understand that. There's probably some goofy thing just not connected, whatever. But hey, look, this is the world of AI. Sometimes it can be a little inconsistent,
In this case, what this would normally do would be any transcripts that we have from any of our recorded meetings. They're automatically pulled as soon as the meeting's over. They're uploaded into SharePoint where Copilot then ingests those meetings and can provide insights around those meetings. It can sample use cases. Maybe I want to evaluate how well somebody ran a meeting. I can have it grade that person's meeting. I can have it tell me action items. I can have it search for past meetings for a client and tell me, what that client relationship looks like. If someone is, happy or potentially upset or, any of those kinds of things. The important part is, Karl and I can't simply attend every single meeting our teams have. So this becomes a great kind of tool for us to really see what's going on in an environment.
Well, another way, and this is something you actually did for me is, you know, you can just look at for instance, maybe you're a sales manager and you can't obviously be on every phone call your sales team makes as well, but as long as they're putting it into a meeting, getting a transcript somewhere that Copilot can see, which is, if you're doing a meeting, Teams is
Absolutely
automatically built in, and then you say, hey, how would I coach this person to have a better call next time? And AI's got great suggestions. It's really great. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm guessing the back end agent has stopped working, and we've got to go back and look at that. So,
which is another reason why you need people to help manage your AI, because
that's where maintenance and support comes in. So let's just kind of move on here a little bit. All right, so there's my slide deck again. Wow, it just got crazy. So we have an AI Jumpstart program. I want to take a moment here just to talk about that. One of the most common things that we hear from businesses are quite simply, we know we need AI, but we don't know where to start. And that's what our Jumpstart program helps accomplish. With our Jumpstart program, one, we'll come in and help train your team on how to use some of these tools. Second, we host a use case workshop with you to help identify potential use cases for AI within your businesses. We come back and we give you a clear, defined roadmap that you can use. We help you draft that AI acceptable use policy that you may not very well have today, but you really need to have that going forward as part of your security and governance. And then after that, we're going to develop one of the solutions off of your roadmap and deliver it within 30 days.
Something I remember when we put together a market research group of CEOs, we were asking them questions about AI. One of the guys who just a terrific feedback. He gave us a lot of good points. And one of the things he says, I'm afraid that my people are using the wrong AI, like they're giving away my secrets or it's not set up correctly. And then he said, but I'm also afraid they're not using the right AI. And so how do I know? Those kind of things. And that's what people say. Well, why do I need an AI acceptable use? Well, it's just about organizing the thoughts. It's like, and it's not about saying you can or can't. It's about just, hey, what's our concerted, scalable effort? I think right now we're in a world where everybody is getting pretty interested, and we're seeing a lot of really good prototyping, right? Which is awesome because prototyping gets you pretty far pretty quick. But at some level, you got to take it to that next thing where you professionalize it and get it to go at scale, make sure it's market fit. And then you have to think about maintenance and management of that thing that you created, or else it'll stop working, like we saw. And so it's like if you're thinking, hey, my people are using AI, and we're getting into pretty good. The question is like, how scalable is it? How easy is it to manage, modify? Do you really have the right feature set? Does it really fit the need well? Has it been professionalized? Are you using good repositories for any code you're writing? Do you have your keys in secure vaults? Are you really protecting the data as you expect? And as your team off kind of on their own little computer, just creating their own little AI world that nobody else could ever use and could not have input from anybody else because they're in their own little world. And what we're finding is there's lots of own little worlds, and they're getting some interesting things started, but rarely, and people get excited, they say, I got this going. And when you look at what they are, is they're good 40 to 80%, somewhere in there done with their prototype, but they haven't put meaningful infrastructure behind it. And if they did, they just sort of said, AI, tell me where to do it. And they don't even know where they put it, where the data is, how it gets backed up, how they can manage and retain. So there's this whole professionalization stage that we can really help you sort out in this process. Let you try a few different tools so you can make sure which one really makes sense, and then really get you off and rolling with a really scalable, maintainable, professional level implementation. You got to get out of the prototype phase and into professional building with good security, good scalability, so forth, so on.
That's right. And if you're not quite ready to take that particular path, maybe you need to figure out if your business is even ready for AI to start with. We have a free AI readiness assessment. It'll take you about 15 to 20 minutes or so. No sales call is required, though you do have the option to schedule with us if you like. But once you take that, within a few minutes, you'll get a report sent back to you via email that will contain some of the gaps and areas that you might want to address to really ensure that you're ready to go forward with AI and do it in a responsible way that drives ROI for your business.
Terrific. Take advantage of it. It's free.
Absolutely. And with that, I want to thank everybody for attending this afternoon. It's truly been a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing you in our next webinar. Hope you have a great
Thanks,
day.
everybody. Good to see you.